I'm Carla Reeves, and this is Differently, a podcast where we explore the ins and outs of what becomes possible when we're willing to think, do, and show up differently to the moments of our everyday lives. Lisa TerKeurst said in her book, Uninvited, rejection isn't just an emotion we feel, it's a message that's sent to the core of who we are, causing us to believe lies about ourselves, others, and God. We connect an event from today to something harsh someone once said, and that person's line becomes a label. The label becomes a lie, and the lie becomes a liability in how we think about ourselves and interact in every future relationship. And I would add to that sometimes these labels come from something that happened years ago, and our interpretation of what happened becomes the label and ultimately the lie that shades our every experience today. Have you ever struggled with feeling like you're on the outside looking in, like you don't fit inside the group, or just a feeling of being left out or lonely? I have struggled with this feeling too, and I often hear from my clients that they feel disconnected from friendships, relationships, like they don't have community, or that they want more community, and they feel lonely. And while your community and your relationships may not have changed from yesterday to today or from last week to this week, this feeling on any given day may show up. My heart decided that this would be a good topic to bring to the podcast this week, especially when we might be living, not that we might be living, that we are living a more distanced existence than ever before. When you're in this lonely, disconnected frame of mind, it's easy to get focused on the lack of what's happening, what is not happening, what others aren't doing, how long it's been since somebody reached out, the feeling that you're always the one making the effort, and on and on. This can take us into that downward spiral and just grows this feeling of being lonely and disconnected and leaves us extremely powerless or feeling extremely powerless. The perceived solution might be to find better connections, wait until others reach out, and this can often cause us to just isolate and pull away even more. And then it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. The real solution is to look for your part. Find something that you can grab a hold of, a place where you do have power and influence, and a place where you can change the dance to create a new result. Sometimes we just get in a rut and need a new way of seeing things. I want to give you some different perspectives to look from today. The first one, what if you had been set apart for a reason? My dear sister a few years ago shared with me something she had heard in a Bible study, that God doesn't leave you out, He sets you apart for a reason. This was a huge eye-opener for me and often gives me a different perspective to see things from. Instead of looking through the lens of I'm left out, I don't fit in, I can ask the question of why might I be set apart in this particular moment? Number 2, what if belonging and connection begins with you? One of the gifts of this past year has been finding online business communities. However, several months after joining these communities, I often notice a pattern in myself that there comes a time where I convince myself that these aren't my people, this doesn't fit, I don't fit, this isn't working, and have often opted out in the past. More recently, I've decided to just push through that and keep showing up, stay longer, stay engaged. And here's what I have learned. Belonging often is a choice. Building strong, authentic, wholesome, lasting relationships takes time and investment. Feeling included, a part of things, requires showing up consistently and setting down your guard, being vulnerable, and letting people into your life contributes to belonging. Number 3, what if your gift is to be the one that upholds the connection? So the next time you feel yourself slipping into the pity party of one and feeling lonely, I want to invite you to do differently. Maybe your loved ones have a different gift to offer the relationship, but when you are so focused on them falling short in the reaching out part, the staying connected part, you miss what they do bring to the relationship. And what if you just took on your ability and gift of being the one that keeps people connected? This is something that I discovered about myself a long time ago, and I would often feel frustrated that people weren't reaching out and weren't staying connected. I began to realize that one of the things that I do and that I bring to a relationship is keeping people connected. And I decided to just take ownership of that. I invite you to take a look for that in your life. And this is by no means giving you the idea to create lopsided relationships. Like, we all want to be in really mutually loving relationships. But what I am saying is that sometimes your gift might be the one to reach out, the one to stay in connection, the one to be in communication. And when you can focus on your gift and how you're showing up and what you're bringing, you then have the ability to discover what other people, their gifts are and what they're bringing to the relationship. So the next time you feel this left out, on the outs, feeling lonely, I want to invite you to do differently. What I know for sure is that if we continue the same patterns, look through the same lenses, and respond in the same old way, we perpetuate the same unfulfilling results. And when we're willing to show up differently in the little moments of our lives, magic can happen. Things we never thought possible become possible. And I've seen it over and over and over again. Treasure awaits when we push past your comfort zone and break familiar, unfulfilling patterns of the past. So if you find yourself feeling lonely, disconnected, on the outs, try this next time. Ask yourself, in this moment, what is it that you want to feel? And then ask yourself, what could you do or think or be that would give you that feeling right now? For example, when I ask a client this, when they're feeling disconnected or lonely, they often say, well, I want to feel connected. I want to feel close. And then I'll say, well, what can you do in this moment to create that? And usually that involves reaching out, picking up the phone, making a call, texting someone, inviting somebody to lunch, sending a card. Give away what you most want, and it will come back to you. And if this feels like more of a deeper pattern for you, reach out and get support. Life doesn't have to feel this way, and there are people who can help. This is an area where I help people change old patterns and unfulfilling results. In my one-to-one Elevate coaching program, we work on freeing you of the patterns that may have helped you to survive an environment at one time, but today keep you from the life that you truly want to live now. There's a link in the show notes. You can click on that and learn more and set up a conversation where we can explore how I might be able to support you. So, my heart to yours. You don't have to stay in a lonely frame of mind, and there are new perspectives and things that you can grab a hold of right now to change and shift your reality. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Differently. I hope it stirred your thinking, and I invite you to take one inspired action from something that stood out to you. If you love listening to this podcast, may I please ask you to leave a review in Apple Podcasts. These mean so much to me. I read every one. They help to grow the podcast, and honestly, on some days, they give me the fuel to keep going. If you want to hear more conversations like this, hit follow on your favorite podcast app and help me spread the word. If this episode could impact someone you know, please share it and pass it along. Remember, episodes drop weekly.